Good evening. My name is Joscelyn Peterson, and I've been working under Dr. Stephen Katsinas at the university's Education Policy Center to research the Black Belt and to publish the Black Belt 2025 series. Over the past year, our team has examined several interconnected issues shaping the outcome of Alabama's Black Belt region. Tonight, I will walk through key findings from each brief in the series and discuss what we are currently working on as we move towards wrapping up this series. For those who are unaware, the Black Belt is a 24-county region in Alabama, historically shaped by an agricultural landscape and later shaped by chronic underinvestment during and after the Jim Crow era. Although it represents just 13% of the state's population, it drives a disproportionate share of Alabama's socioeconomic challenges. Today, structural barriers such as limited infrastructure, lower educational attainment, weak healthcare access, and high poverty rates all converge here. It is important to note that there is no federal definition for the Black Belt, which has prevented it in the past from receiving the funding that it needs. Beginning in 2020, the Education Policy Center has published a series of issue briefings highlighting various issues that are listed on the screen. Each follow-up series has provided a deeper insight into the state of Alabama's Black Belt. For the 2025 series, the center has published 3 issue briefs already on poverty, healthcare, and education, and we are focusing on developing briefs on broadband access and highway infrastructure this semester. As I mentioned previously, the 2025 series builds on previous research by revisiting and updating certain briefings from the 2020 series. We also aim to highlight new issues for targeted intervention and improvement in the region. And finally, we aim to help inform evidence-based policy decisions. This is an extremely important objective because the main purpose of publishing these issue briefs is to serve as a crucial resource for policymakers, legislators, and community leaders so that the problems facing the Black Belt may be rectified in the future. To kick off our series, we researched poverty in the Black Belt. Persistent poverty is defined as the census defines as a county with poverty rates above 20% for at least 2 consecutive census periods. In 1970, all 24 Black Belt counties met that definition, and as we discussed in our issue briefs, 19 of the 24 counties still do to this day. This shows how poverty in this region is systemic, not just temporary. A few other key findings that we found in this series is that the poverty rate in the Black Belt actually increased since COVID, even though Alabama's statewide poverty fell. Youth poverty is also especially alarming, as figure 2 illustrates, with ages 5 to 17 experiencing poverty 35%. And additionally, racial disparities are evident, as figure 3 illustrates. Black residents experience poverty at almost 3 times the rate of white residents in the Black Belt. And finally, labor force participation continues to lag by more than 17 percentage points. This figure illustrates just how alarming the poverty gap is in the Black Belt. And to make progress, our team recommends treating the Black Belt as a standalone economic region, investing in local leadership capacity, addressing structural barriers to prevent workforce participation, especially transportation, childcare, and the benefits cliff, which is a phenomenon that occurs when residents lose benefits as they gain employment. In our second brief of the series, our team found that Black Belt students face significantly higher economic disadvantage rates, which shape academic engagement and limit access to advanced coursework. These districts also have higher percentages of inexperienced teachers, which impacts student support and academic encouragement. At the post-secondary level, declining community college enrollment reflects a broader affordability issue, as Alabama ranks last in state financial aid among the 17 southeastern states. This really disproportionately affects how low-income students and rural students specifically are able to receive access to education. Our brief highlights the importance of expanding Kickstart College in Title I schools, boosting state aid, and strengthening teacher pipelines to rectify this issue. It also points to a successful local model that can be scaled, this model is the University Charter School in Sumter County. Our next brief, we focus on healthcare. Healthcare shortages are among the most severe in the Deep South. Black Belt counties have far fewer primary care and mental health providers than their counterparts. And several counties like Lowndes, Pickens, and Perry have no hospitals at all. And what we're seeing happen here is that hospitals built in the 30s and 50s were grandfathered into an updated healthcare system, and once they close, they're no longer able to reopen because of their outdated system that wouldn't be up to code. We also found that chronic disease rates, particularly diabetes and heart disease, are significantly higher in the Black Belt than the statewide averages. And because so many residents fall into the Medicaid coverage gap, as seen in the figure on the screen, this access remains very fragile. So the brief stresses that new federal Medicaid cuts could further destabilize rural health care, which is very alarming. So we suggest protecting Medicaid, strengthening hospital financing, and expanding telehealth, which must be paired with broadband investments, which I will mention in the next slide. And these are essential to improving the healthcare status in the Black Belt. Our brief on broadband connectivity, which will be published before the semester is over, it stresses that broadband remains a moving target. Although Alabama has made major strides since 2017, as seen in the chart with different acts impacting broadband, we've moved from no statewide plan to becoming a national model for broadband strategy. However, gaps still remain, particularly in rural and high poverty counties. As of the 7 underserved counties in Alabama, 6 are located in the Black Belt, and 4 counties in the Black Belt have no coverage at all. Although major federal investments offer historic opportunities to close this gap, it will only be successful through continued coordination. So as far as recommendations go, our team emphasizes that broadband is not just a technology issue. It's a foundation for every other policy domain in the Black Belt. So ensuring last mile access and continued collaboration across state agencies will be crucial to determining how the region receives full connectivity. And that brings us to our most recent project, a brief that will assess the state of highway infrastructure in the Black Belt. To assess this issue, we plan to look at the West Alabama Corridor project and the goal to expand I-65 by mapping the project, creating timelines, looking at legislation similar to what we looked at for the broadband brief, and being able to develop a timeline table for the Rebuild Alabama project championed by Governor Kay Ivey. In conclusion, a better Black Belt means a better Alabama. An overarching theme for policy recommendations throughout all of these briefs has been that long-term coordinated investments in the Black Belt are essential for sustainable progress. Thank you. Any questions?
So I have a question about your broadband brief.
Yes,
When was that written? The broadband?
It is still in the process of being. We're in the final draft stage, and it'll be published before the semester is over.
Okay. So I asked that because answering this question or problem 15 years ago is very different now. And you wouldn't even use the word last mile if you're looking at now like satellite kind of thing. So the satellites changed so much. Is that part of your brief versus 15 years ago it would have been all like physical cable connections and stuff? So what's new that you could update about that?
Yes, we do discuss updates in our brief. There are very recent updates within the past few years with what being fully connected even means. So we definitely address that in the brief, and like I said, it will be published soon.
Hi. Given the scale of persistent poverty in the Black Belt, what does success realistically look like for the Black Belt over the next decade or so?
Yes, so success as far as poverty comes, of course we can't change the poverty rates overnight. That's why we recommend having targeted investments. It's not enough to just give money, but to implement programs that'll help combat issues that contribute to the poverty rate, such as workforce participation or transportation. Thank you.
Okay, hello. Can you explain what last mile broadband means and why it's important for rural counties like those in the Black Belt?
Yeah, absolutely. So last mile actually is the last stretch of broadband infrastructure. It connects the middle mile, which is just the fiber system to actually directly to homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses. So to be clear, many counties do have middle mile connection. However, it's the last mile connection that'll bring the connectivity directly to their homes.
Based on what you know so far, how might improving highway infrastructure affect outcomes in the Black Belt?
So in one area that improving highway infrastructure will affect outcomes in the Black Belt is the workforce participation. Many residents in the Black Belt live far from job opportunities and training resources. So by connecting them to a stronger highway infrastructure, they'll be able to commute easier, and it also attracts businesses to the Black Belt as well, knowing that there is easy access through a highway.